Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zoran Ashman, and today we're going to be talking about gay marriage and why it should not be a problem for any of you guys whose religious views oppose homosexuality. I do realize that there's a lot of religious, philosophical, and moral issues that do come into play when talking about a thing of this sort. Hopefully this video will help some of you guys out there who are perhaps still confused about the whole situation about gay marriage, or perhaps don't have an opinion about gay marriage, or hopefully this changes some opinions too. But of course, this is also an opinion of mine, so you do not have to take it for anything really. So let's get to it. So the first thing I would like to talk about is a contrast. So if your problem with gay marriage is because you think that marriage has to do with religious vicinity, in some religious vicinity, and it has to have some religious respect according to your beliefs, then I'm on the same boat as you. I believe marriage is sacred too, and I believe that it has a lot of religious values in it, and I do believe that it has to be within the bounds of some religions, or the religion that I follow as well. But at the same time, being opposed to gay marriage because of this reason is not really valid. And the reason it's not valid is because of two things. The first thing is, think of an atheist. Atheists don't believe in anything, so if one male atheist gets married to another female atheist, where's the religion in that? Where's God in between that? It's not there. And the second reason is, the reason that these marriages are prevalent is because of the fact that much of the things which start out as religious turn into culture. For example, Christmas, which is supposed to be celebrated by Christians around the world, but many atheists celebrate them, many agnostics celebrate them. It's just a holiday like any other, and you could treat marriage as a cultural part as well, because it is an integral part of our society, regardless of whether or not we believe in God, regardless of whether or not we're from the same faith. So it's not hard to see why exactly it should not be a problem, because if you don't have a problem with atheists obviously getting married, where there's no God in between them at all, you should not have a problem with gays being married, even though it might be deplorable in your religion. But of course, they might be very faithful people, and they might actually have very good hearts and things of that sort. But anyways, moving on. If you're a religious person like myself, then you should know that and if you follow one of the three major religions around the world, when I say major, I mean the most influential. I'm not talking in terms of populations, but I guess two of those can be attributed to populations. First is Christianity, second Islam, and third, I'm going to talk about Judaism a little bit. We're not going to be talking about any of the other ones because, well, it might get a little too complicated, but let's just talk about these three first. So firstly, let's start off with Christianity. So if you're a Christian, if you have studied the Bible, you know that most of the verses that basically condemn homosexuality and things of that sort are found in the Old Testament. Now, I'm not a scholar of any of these books or anything of that sort, so I don't really possess the right to say anything about the interpretations that go into the Old Testament and things of that sort. But what I can say is that since most mainstream Christians do not follow the Old Testament word by word, I don't think that the case against homosexuality is very solid when it comes to most Christian denominations. I'm not talking about all. There are certainly some which do not accept it, regardless of whether or not the Old Testament does mention it most of the time or not. But anyways, that most of the time that's what the case is. And on top of that, verses that do exist in the New Testament are sometimes referred to as either bad sources or are referring to very specific actions like intercourse. But other than that, many homosexuals do claim that, hey, it does not seem like they have anything else, or they have any other content about two people of the same gender being with each other or living with each other and without any intercourse going on, which is also a very good possibility. Now, again, I'm not a scholar of all these things, so I can't say for sure, because depending on the denomination that you belong to or the type of Christianity you belong to, you probably have a different kind of upbringing. But this is basically the general idea that I have about this when it comes to Christianity. And when we talk about Islam, Muslims, you guys should be the least worried about this, because Sharia law states that the law of the land that you live in is the law that you live by, as long as it does not intercede with you practicing your faith. That's basically what it is. Now, I don't see how gay people getting married is exactly interceding with you practicing your faith, unless you actually have a personal problem with gay people, and I don't see why you should. But, I mean, really, I don't see why it's such a big deal for you, because if you are living in the United States where gay marriage is allowed, then that is the law, so that is Sharia now, that for you. So regardless of whether or not our fundamental teachings correspond with this certain law or not, it is not stopping us from practicing our religion in any way. Like, in any way, literally. In no way is this affecting us at all. And you might think that, hey, maybe this is actually influencing other people to become homosexuals or to become gay. But I'd argue that no, because according to recent statistics, more people are becoming atheists much faster than gay. And that is very, well, I shouldn't say that's concerning, because really it really doesn't matter. I'm not going to go over Judaism because I have not read the Torah, so I can't say anything. But what I can say is that regardless of what religion you come from, what background you come from, and regardless of whether or not your religion opposes homosexuality or gay marriage, it has to be understood that gay people existed all throughout history. And the reason that they couldn't come out back then was because there were religious persecutions going on, political persecutions, and obviously it was against the norm, and so people couldn't express themselves, and that's why the United States government thought that it would be a good idea to let people express themselves more freely, since there are so many civil rights being given out. So that's not the real reason that you should not be worried about this. The real reason you should be worried about this is because gay people are still a minority in our society, and they're not increasing in any rapid rate or anything like that. So it's very highly unlikely that you'll ever even come across a gay person throughout your entire life. And of course, even if you do come across a gay person, what's the guarantee that you'll actually recognize that that person is gay? You know, because they walk the same way as you, they talk the same way as you, as far as I know. They dress the same way as you. I'm sure most of them do. And so it's highly unlikely that you'll even recognize or realize the fact that the person you're maybe perhaps passing by on the street is gay. Secondly, it's really none of our business. It really doesn't affect us in any way. Regardless of whether or not you are for gay marriage or not, or whether or not you do choose to affiliate yourself with homosexuals or not, it really doesn't matter, because it will not affect you as much as you probably think it will. And lastly, if you are followers of any of these major religions around the world, then I have one message for you, and that is that if a person trusts you enough to tell you that he or she is a homosexual, then I think that you should give that person the respect that he or she deserves for trusting you. If the only thing that you do is give them an insult or two and then act violently or aggressively, then the only thing that you're doing is pushing them further away from what you believe in. Because if what you believe in is what you actually believe in, then your job is to make sure that other people who are not guided properly are guided. And it's your responsibility to make sure that that's happening. And in order to do that, you can't just throw insults around, regardless of whether or not somebody's gay, or whether or not somebody is, a liar or anything of that sort. If you think that they're doing something wrong, it is your responsibility to take them to the right path, regardless of what religion you're following. That is your responsibility to guide people who are being misled. And let's all try to do that instead of pushing people away and isolating them. And this isolation doesn't really make anything easier anyways, because we make up myths about people who are isolated, and isolated people make up myths about us, because in the end it just becomes a bunch of lies that are scattered everywhere. And we do not want that. We want understanding, we want communication, and we do live in the same society now, so it's not something that you have to worry about. It really isn't. And my phone is about to run out of battery, so I'm going to cut this short. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time.